That is Peter Dutton there responding to this breaking news we brought you at the top of the hour. That is a police investigation that has gone for months now, looking into the protest at the Opera House in the wake of the October 7 attacks. It was widely reported at the time that there were chants from pro-Palestinian protesters saying either gas the Jews or F the Jews. Now, police have come back and said that that is not the case, that they can't find any evidence. In fact, one expert has said they were saying, "Where's the Jews?" We had a strong response there from Peter Dutton. Let's get another response now from Alex Ryvchin. He is from the Executive Council of Australian Jewry. Alex, thanks so much for your time. Where's the Jews? That was apparently the chant at the Opera House. It does sound still very intimidatory. I'm sure that many within the Jewish community don't at all feel appeased that that phrase was being used.
Well, there were independent witnesses who came forward after that evening, and they all said the same thing, that the phrase that was chanted was "gas the Jews." We know what was said. The world knows what was chanted. It's clear. But regardless of what this police statement has now said, whether it's "where's the Jews," "gas the Jews," "F the Jews," these are equally menacing, abhorrent terms that were used and directed by one group of Australians towards their fellow Australians. The issue here isn't the precise wording that was used. The issue is that on the 9th of October, just 2 days after the Jewish people suffered the worst atrocity inflicted on them since the Holocaust, before Israel had even commenced its operation to defeat Hamas and rescue its hostages, a violent mob of thugs gathered in one of our most cherished sites to burn an Israeli flag, to celebrate these atrocities, and to direct hatred and abuse and threats towards their fellow Australians. The issue is that. It's not the precise wording. And as much as some see it in their interest to try to deflect and confuse the Australian public, that is the issue.
Very well said. Where's the Jews? I just want to concentrate on this phrase, but you're right. It doesn't really matter what was chanted. It was the sentiments on that day, just 2 days after the worst terrorist attack in Israel. But where's the Jews? It seems like that is an anti-Semitic phrase anyway, in and of itself. It sounds like protesters were hunting, looking for Australian Jews, and I imagine not to give them a hug.
You're absolutely correct in that assessment, Laura. You know, "gas the Jews" is a kind of a bleak aspiration by neo-Nazis and anti-Semites. But "where's the Jews" is far more menacing and directly threatening. You're exactly right. It's about, let us find these people, and what were they going to do if they came across some Jews? And that's the terrifying thing, the fact that we're a cohesive, peaceful, multicultural society, and you have one group of people that are directing these sorts of threats, that are hunting another group of Australians. That's something that is abhorrent to our way of life, to everything we stand for as a society, and all people of decency should stand up against it. And we shouldn't get embroiled in these debates about what the subtitle said and what the video said, whether it was "F the Jews," "gas the Jews." It's frankly irrelevant. It's the sentiment, it's the nature, it's the tone and tenor of what was intended, and that's something that's truly chilling.
Do you have, sympathy is probably the wrong word here, but there's some sympathy for New South Wales Police here? This is obviously very difficult for them to navigate. They have a responsibility to protect all members of the community. You mentioned at the Opera House protests about the hunting and menacing aspect of that phrase that the police now say was being sprouted. There was one individual with an Israeli flag that was told to go home for his own safety. I mean, that did happen. But what should New South Wales Police do now? Because from that media conference with Mal Lanyon, the Deputy Commissioner, he said essentially there's no evidence. I'll bring up my notes here. There's no evidence to take action, and part of the problem is they can't slate it back to any one individual. Do you accept that?
Well, I have great sympathy and respect for the police. I have every confidence that they want nothing more than to keep Australians safe, that they have no tolerance for violent thugs that try to rip our society apart. But they're in a very challenging position because if it's Nazi anti-Semitism, if it's a gang of Nazi thugs chanting "Gas the Jews," there is political consensus around the need to take action against that. But if they chant in the context of the Arab-Israeli conflict, if they apply the veneer of anti-Zionism rather than anti-Semitism, it's okay. And in fact, powerful forces in Australian politics and civil society will step up to support these elements. So the police find themselves in a difficult position. But they need the powers to take action. And unfortunately, we've seen, not just with this incident, but in the months that followed it, clerics inciting hatred against the Jewish community, violent protests, chants, genocidal chants against the State of Israel and the Jewish community, and sadly, very little action was taken. But that's not because of a lack of will on the part of the police, I'm certain of that. It's a lack of powers, and they need those powers to keep us all safe.
Okay, so is that a message to the Prime Minister and the New South Wales Premier today? What needs to be done?
Well, we need leadership. You know, Peter Dutton spoke there in great support of the Jewish community. Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister, has been also supportive, but we need greater action. We need bold support repeated publicly from the Prime Minister down to express the fact that violent mobs on our streets, the sort of harassment of Jewish businesses and individuals that we are seeing on a daily basis. I mean, I'm contacted every day by distraught members of the Jewish community who are having their businesses, their livelihoods, their families threatened and targeted. It's not on. This is not what we are as a country. And we need change and we need leadership at all levels to purge this nonsense from our midst before something terrible happens.
Well, Alex, we thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it, as always.
Thank you so much, Laura.